There is a number that most people are chasing without ever questioning whether it is actually the right target. 6 figures, $100,000 a year. For decades, it has been the unofficial finish line of financial success in America. The salary that means you have made it, that money stress is behind you, that wealth is simply a matter of time. But here's what the data actually shows. Earning 6 figures does not automatically make you rich. And in 2026, with inflation reshaping what money actually buys, with housing costs at historic highs, with the cost of building a retirement portfolio higher than it has ever been, the salary that actually makes you rich is not the number most people think it is. Today, we are breaking down exactly what the research says, what the real number looks like in 2026, why income alone has never been the deciding factor, and what you need to do with whatever salary you earn right now to actually build wealth. Number 1, why 6 figures no longer means what it used to. $100,000 a year sounds like a lot of money, and 20 years ago, it genuinely was. But in 2026, the purchasing power of that salary looks dramatically different, depending on where you live, how you spend, and what the economy is doing around you. Adjusted for cumulative inflation over the past decade, a $100,000 salary in 2026 buys roughly what $72,000 bought in 2015. The number on your payslip has not changed. The world it operates in has changed enormously. The cost of housing alone tells the story clearly. The median home price in the United States has more than doubled since 2015. In major metropolitan areas, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Miami, Austin, a $100,000 salary qualifies you for a mortgage that covers a fraction of what a starter home actually costs. Rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in most major cities now consumes between 35% and 50% of a $100,000 gross salary after taxes. That is before groceries, transportation, childcare, student loans, or a single dollar invested toward retirement. A salary does not make you rich. What you do with it does. But the first thing to understand in 2026 is that 6 figures is no longer the threshold it once represented. And chasing a number without understanding what that number actually buys you in the current economy is one of the most common and most costly financial mistakes people make. Number 2, what the research actually says about income and happiness. In 2010, a landmark study by Princeton researchers Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton found that emotional well-being, day-to-day happiness, stopped improving meaningfully beyond an income of $75,000 per year. That finding became one of the most cited statistics in personal finance. It was interpreted widely to mean that money beyond $75,000 bought very little additional life satisfaction. But in 2021, researcher Matthew Killingsworth published a follow-up study using a much larger data set and a different methodology. His findings challenged the earlier conclusion, showing that well-being continued rising with income well beyond $75,000, with no clear plateau for most people. In 2023, Kahneman and Killingsworth collaborated on a joint analysis reconciling both findings. The result was nuanced. For most people, happiness continued rising with income throughout the range studied. But for a specific subset of people, those who described themselves as emotionally miserable, happiness stopped improving and in some cases declined at higher incomes. What this research actually tells us is not a specific dollar amount that makes you happy. It tells us that income matters, but that the relationship between money and well-being is deeply personal, shaped by how you spend, what you value, and what emotional baseline you are starting from. The salary that makes you rich is not a universal number. It is the intersection of what you earn, what you keep, and what your money is actually doing while you sleep. Number 3, the real number in 2026. So what is the salary that actually builds wealth in America in 2026? The honest answer is that there is no single number, but there is a framework that reveals the answer for your specific situation. Financial researchers and planners broadly agree that wealth building becomes genuinely achievable when 3 conditions are met simultaneously. First, your income covers your essential living costs: housing, food, transportation, healthcare, without consuming more than 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. Second, you are able to save and invest a minimum of 20% of your gross income consistently. Third, you have sufficient cushion above those two requirements to maintain a quality of life that does not make the discipline feel unsustainable. Applying that framework to 2026, cost of living data across different American cities produces a range rather than a single number. In lower cost of living areas, parts of the Midwest, the South, smaller cities, a household income of around $80,000 to $90,000 can realistically meet all three conditions. In medium-cost cities, Denver, Nashville, Charlotte, Phoenix, the threshold rises to approximately $110,000 to $130,000 for a single person and higher for a family. In high-cost cities, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, the number climbs to $160,000 or more before all three wealth-building conditions are reliably met. The uncomfortable truth this framework reveals is that in many American cities, a six-figure salary is not enough to build wealth on its own. Not because $100,000 is a small amount of money in absolute terms, but because the cost structure of modern American life in high and medium-cost cities consumes it before wealth building can begin. Number 4. Why income is only half the equation. Here is the part of the conversation that most salary-focused content completely ignores. Two people can earn identical salaries and produce completely opposite financial outcomes over a decade. The variable that determines which outcome you experience is not your income. It is your savings rate, the percentage of what you earn that you consistently put to work building wealth, rather than funding lifestyle. A person earning $80,000 per year with a 25% savings rate will build more wealth over a decade than a person earning $150,000 per year with a 5% savings rate. The math is unambiguous. $80,000 multiplied by 25% produces $20,000 invested per year. $150,000 multiplied by 5% produces $7,500 invested per year. Over 10 years, compounding at 8%, the $80,000 earner accumulates approximately $290,000. The $150,000 earner accumulates approximately $109,000. Higher income, less wealth. This is not a theoretical edge case. It is the lived financial reality of millions of high-earning people who have allowed lifestyle inflation to consume every pay rise they have ever received. The term for this is being house rich and cash poor, or more precisely, income rich and wealth poor. High income, high spending, low savings rate, negligible net worth. The salary that makes you rich is not the highest salary you can earn. It is the salary that, combined with the spending decisions you make, allows you to consistently invest enough that compound growth does the heavy lifting over time. Number 5, what to do with whatever you earn right now. Whether you are earning $45,000 or $145,000, the actions that build wealth are the same. They scale with income, but the principles do not change. Calculate your savings rate today. Take your total monthly investment contributions, retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, index funds, and divide by your gross monthly income. If the number is below 15%, that is your starting point for improvement. If it is below 10%, it is urgent. If it is 0, the salary conversation is entirely irrelevant until that changes. Close the gap between your income and your cost of living. Every dollar of distance between what you earn and what you spend is a dollar available to build wealth. Housing is the single biggest lever. If your rent or mortgage consumes more than 30% of your take-home pay, everything else becomes exponentially harder. Stop waiting for a higher salary to start investing. The investor who starts at $45,000 with a 20% savings rate will almost always outperform the investor who waits until $90,000 to begin. The compounding clock starts the moment you make your first contribution, not the moment you feel ready. Increase your savings rate by 1% every time your income increases. You will never feel the reduction in take-home pay because the raise absorbs it. But over 5 years of consistent 1% increases, your savings rate will have risen dramatically without ever creating a moment of financial pain. The salary that makes you rich in 2026 is not a number on a job listing. It is the gap between what you earn and what you spend, multiplied by time. Earn more if you can. Spend less than you earn without exception. Invest the difference consistently and let compound growth handle the rest. If this video helped you think differently about your salary and your wealth, hit that like button. It helps Kraftwise reach more everyday people who are ready to stop chasing the wrong number and start building real wealth. Subscribe for a new money video every single week and keep building the financial future you deserve.